Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Medtech Impact Podcast, where you get to hear from leaders and innovators who are shaping the future of medical technology. I'm Kyle Cruz.
And I'm Richard Meiklejohn.
And we're your hosts of the show.
So today we're delighted to welcome to the show CEO of DeepLook Medical, Marissa Fayer. Marissa, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
We are delighted. I feel like nearly every event I've been going to, I've been seeing you. You are there every place. You are just at the center of the medtech world. So we're super excited to have you on and tell the story of what DeepLook Medical do. As always, to set the scene, we love to kick things off by please tell us the problem that DeepLook Medical is looking to solve.
Yeah, so DeepLook Medical, we are enhancing medical imaging with revolutionary software. And the problem really is that there's almost 300 million annual diagnostic medical imaging tests that occur. 2 million people get diagnosed with cancers every year. And it's really costly, especially when you have all of these medical imaging tests and the radiologists are exhausted and burnt out. There's not enough of them. So they need tools to help them better do their job. And so that's very much what DeepLook is all about. And we have our first product, which is FDA cleared, called DL Precise, which is a one-click measurement, segmentation, and visualization tool. And it really helps the radiologists and oncologists be able to better visualize their existing scans. So we work across ultrasound, mammography, CT, and MRI, and across all health conditions to make sure that there's accurate and efficient data for them to make it easier to do their jobs so that they have the visual tools when they're looking at all of these images, because there's so many, like there's 300 million that happen every year. This is also incredibly important in breast and breast mammography, because 50% of all women around the world have dense breasts, and there's like nothing you can do about it. It's genetics. And unfortunately with dense breasts, you can't see inside or if there's a mass behind the density. And that's really the problem. So we can with our tool, and we can see through the density, which allows for better and faster visualization and giving the physicians additional information for them to better do their job.
This is so exciting. And I think when you talk about the value add for the patients and the physicians, but the patients I wanted to touch on here, because I imagine when you look at an x-ray, it's hard. Like if you're not trained in what to see, I think the value add, because you're adding this color and this depth, even for the patients, you can start to tell a true story and help them understand.
Yeah, that's very much, and that's where we want to go. So obviously, first and foremost, you always go first to the physicians and the doctors, and then we go next to the patients. Like we eventually, our further products are going to be integrating personalized medicine and integrating patient EHRs and taking the information they have, and also being a tool that the physicians can show their patients. It's really exciting, for them to be like, oh, okay, I understand now why you want to cut that out. Or, on the other side, if you're having oncology treatments and you're suffering through the side effects, it's really good to know very concretely, is this working or not working? Is this shrinking? Is it not? And we're going to get to a point where they can show them that. And it gives the patients more information, and it's not that it makes them trust the doctors more, but it gives patients, like, they have the information in their hands so that they can also make a better decision to say, you know what, this is working. I'm going to suffer through the side effects for a few more rounds to really shrink it even more. And we're not there to say, yeah, it's working, it's whatever. We're giving the visualization of the tools so that everyone has the information, and also with measurement and the outside borders of malignancies, it's really hard to measure. And right now it's done manually, which can vary doctor by doctor. It can vary time of day. Somebody's tired, has had their coffee, hasn't had their coffee, and that fraction of a millimeter is a difference and could show Something's grown, something hasn't, something's shrinking, something hasn't. And that's the exciting part, especially of the future.
Yeah, and I think this is so important to raise, particularly given it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. People are aware of the prominence of this disease, and again, how it affects not just women, but men. And so, 1% of breast cancer is men, and not that I want to detract in any way from, how this affects women, but it's just worth highlighting that this is something that can affect both men and women.
Yeah, 1 in 8, and that's actually trending now. One in 7 women are going to have breast cancer as well.
Wow.
And again, it doesn't, and this is again nothing against men, but when a woman, especially a mother, is affected, it means their family's affected too. So there's probably nobody here listening that doesn't know somebody who's had breast cancer. I mean, you can't say that about every other cancer. You really just can't. The fact of the matter is, like, breast cancer is one of the most prevalent cancers in the world, and it's affecting so many people. And then women with dense breasts, it disproportionately affects Black women, Asian women, and Jewish women. So again, it's an equity problem too. There needs to be more tools to better help to get to a faster diagnosis, because it's also a cost. Like, it's an insurance thing. It's a cost to the patient. It's an uncertainty. The fact that if you have a questionable mammogram, then you maybe have to go back for a second one. Maybe then you have to go back for an ultrasound, and then maybe an MRI. It's a lot of maybes and a lot of anxiety. And, so obviously that's on the breast cancer side. It's the same process for any other part of the body, for any other person. And having very accurate tools to be able to use in a diagnosis is incredibly important. And it's important for the doctors because, they're tired. They need help. They want help. And that's kind of where we come in, almost as a workflow tool for them.
That's interesting, Marissa. And, I want to talk a little bit more about DL Precise too. And now it's a software, a data-driven software, and it sounds like it integrates with other diagnostic technologies on the market today. So can you help our audience better understand how your software works?
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
give an example too there. Yeah, sorry.
Of course. Yeah, of course. So we're a software technology that kind of overlays either directly onto almost the screen through our partnership with Barco, which is the largest manufacturer of medical monitors that are used all across the world. So it overlays directly onto the screen, so whatever the radiologist is viewing, or we've integrated into other software technologies where they're being used for other things. And this is one of the multiple tools that they're able to deploy as well. And so we integrate directly into all of these other companies, which is the benefit of our software. And we're integrated straight into the workflow so that people don't have to you don't have to go to 27 other screens to make this happen. This is not rendering something that's not live. Like, this is live on your screen happening now. There's no sending data somewhere else and sending it back and waiting for the analysis to happen. That's not what this is. This is visualization directly onto your screen and across all of the imaging modalities.
Okay, so you're not necessarily going to the hospital with your solution. You're going to other original equipment manufacturers that are developing these monitor and visualization technologies used in those. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also integrating with other software companies.
Mhm.
So we have a partnership with Arteris, which was purchased by Tempus, which is one of the largest AI companies in healthcare. Also with Blackford, that's integrated, that was purchased by Bayer Healthcare. That's, creating all of these radiology solutions as well. So we integrate, so we don't have a sales team. Our sales team is us partnering with other either OEMs or software companies because they've done the hard work of getting into the hospitals. They need tools to put on their platforms, and we're one of those tools.
Mm-hmm. And where is the data coming from? And how are you compiling that data and leveraging the data to help these doctors make better decisions?
Yeah, so we see no patient information. We see no patient data. We don't see any of that. None of it comes back to us, which is actually one of the benefits of why people like to work with us and integrate with us. We don't get their data. no offense, we don't want it. All of these other companies, they do, and they get it. And so it's almost like one of the reasons, is it's their problem to deal with. As a small company, it's a lot of hoops to jump through. And so they deal with that. There's no, especially because we're right directly on a screen. Like, I mean, it could be a JPEG. I don't need to know whose it is. Like, it could be an image from years ago. And the other exciting part of what we do is we can look at previous scans to see the growth evolution, hopefully none, of a mass. And it's really, we're not doing any analysis. There's no analysis being done. Like, we're not gathering information. This is fixed software that's directly, integrated, and it's not learning, it's not sending information other places,
Yeah,
which
but the
gives everyone
data.
like a sense of mind, actually, which is why one of our selling points for sure.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think though, obviously in the world of patient data and keeping it as private, right, as possible to follow certain guidelines and rules and regulations is necessary. But you're also leveraging this data again to help these doctors make better decisions. So, that data, it sounds like though it's built over time, and the more images and the more scans that your data is seeing, and the more that's what's going to allow your technology to evolve and become more accurate, right, over time.
So that's in the future. That's
Okay.
not what's happening right now. So right
Okay.
now it's fixed deterministic software. It is not learning. It's not learning a thing.
No learning yet. Okay.
So in the future, our next
Yeah.
product will be integrating machine learning. And what we've done is we are teaching it through a very fixed, known database from Emory University, the largest in the country and actually the world, of known biopsied mammography and also other health conditions. We're starting with mammo first, and breast cancer first. And so we're taking data that has ground truth, that is known. It is not continuously learning. Again, that is the future, and that is being built. And those are future products that will come out in 2024 and 2025. But the technology that is FDA cleared now, there is zero learning happening. It's like the dumbest, no, I'm just kidding. It's not the dumbest software, but it's it's the unlearning software.
Sure.
It's the basics of technology and the basics of AI. And actually that's how physicians and radiologists and healthcare is going to start adopting, AI and technology. And it's one of the tenets that we very much believe in, because if you don't have a known truth, where do you go from there? It's really hard. And that's why having this ground truth, having deterministic software, having it not change over time, you can come back in 6 years, it's going to be the same.
That's amazing. And Marissa, we might have disclosed some information there about the future of your technology
That's okay.
early in the show, but that'll keep the people hanging on for more, that's for sure. But I think we hit a lot about the solution here. And Richard, I think about that go-to-market strategy, right? Aligning with their solution and who their ideal customer is, and how their technology works and how it's being leveraged today in the market. I know that we're always talking about go-to-market strategy. I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I
next.
feel like, we hit home on the oncology, focusing on breast cancer. What else do we need to know about the strategy in terms of how you're taking this to market?
Yeah, so we are partnering, as I said, with other software technology companies and also other, OEMs. And that's really important for us because we're a small company. They've done the hard work of getting out everywhere and having the solutions. All of these other companies are also looking for other add-ons, on their platform. And we're one of those. And every time we have a new product, we're an additional add-on, which is really exciting. And that's obviously how we generate revenue as well. And so, our go-to-market is enabling our partners to get out there and sell the product in different health areas around the world. And these are tools that are they're needed. It's like everyone skipped. You went from like the basics to like the really complex, and like you kind of forgot about the middle. And that's where we are. And we're grateful to kind of almost fill that slot. Like the mammography machines, we need the people who are scoring and creating these risk scores. We need these other tools that are creating like a region of interest. We need all of those so that we can kind of slot in and do our job too. So we all need to work together and it's almost like a puzzle piece, like all fitting together. And this one's been missing, and that's kind of how we slot in.
It's funny you have that analogy of like, fitting on top. I always thought like you're like this part of a cake. You've got the imaging component, and you've got like the risk component and the detection. And as you say, you're just fitting this final piece of the ingredient that brings it all together to make this perfect blend. And that data analytics, the deep analytics that you're providing. I imagine you've had some exciting feedback from physicians and care professionals. What's that been like so far?
We have. It's been exciting. They, first and foremost, this is a workflow tool. So it's really helpful for them to be able to, really focus on the hard cases. The easy cases, like they don't need to necessarily utilize us. And it enables them to be like, no, that's nothing, no big deal. Like they scroll over, they're like, I don't see anything, it's fine. Or it hasn't grown. That's helpful for them, especially as we get past mammography into the other areas where in liver, in lung, in thyroid, everybody has nodules. Every time you have to measure them, you have to make sure that they haven't grown. If you could do that really quickly with one click, that's a workflow tool. That's really easy for them to be able to do and then they can focus on the hard things. So that's some of the exciting feedback. They also really love the colorization, which just shows the density. So if there's not much colorization, it doesn't show, there's no really density. Cancer is hot, it's dense. And so that's what it shows. It shows a dense core with other layers around it. And it's just a visual tool for them to help understand maybe what a mass looks like. And they can scroll throughout, all the different layers in it. So that's the exciting feedback that we've gotten. And they want to continue having it in other modalities and other areas too.
That's great to hear. And Kyle, I know we always touch on the regulatory pathway, and Marissa's actually, one of the lucky with their company actually already being FDA approved, so much further down the track.
Yeah, I know. And I was actually thinking about that, Marissa. I believe DeepLook Medical founded in 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was founded in 19 and we got our clearance in 2021 for the first product, DL Precise. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is pretty quick,
It was even before me. I mean, which is amazing. I was only an advisor then, so it's really exciting.
Wow. Yeah, that really is exciting. And, what allowed you to move then so fast? Because in the world of medtech, we see a lot of companies bringing their technology product to market, but it doesn't move as quickly. And so, I mean, what was that regulatory journey like? And I'm sure it was, one of many pieces that allowed you to move quickly, but how did that impact, that quick fast track to market?
Yeah, so we were able to have a 510(k) off of a predicate. And so that allowed us to not have all of the very, very deep clinical studies that sometimes need to be done. Additionally, because our software is not technically, learning, and it's, fixed software code, just like every other, software code that's out there, then they understood it really quickly. Again, it's just automating something that's done manually. And so that's kind of almost the most basic of it. And so that's how we were able to get clearance. Quite honestly, it was before I really even arrived. So, I think it's a whole lot of like luck and skill. And we didn't start commercializing until this year in reality. And so it's taken, time to, we needed the clearance so that we can go after the partnerships, for us to, go to market. And so that's the exciting part. And we were blessed because we got our clearance so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I guess then, you made some comments about, future capabilities of your software, right? And that learning aspect. Can you touch on what has to happen from a regulatory standpoint, I guess, as you embark on possibly offering the learning aspect of your technology?
Yeah, the learning aspect will also be decision supportive. So we will be going after an additional 510(k).
Okay.
So that will be in the future. That's slated for early next year. We do have our second product that we'll be launching early next year, which is just simply, again, a visual tool. It's a morphology matching, and that's where we're going. And then eventually to decision support. So yeah, we have secondary regulatory filings. We will be going to Europe for CE mark. we're also going to be utilizing our 510(k), our existing clearance, into other geographies as well. So other ones that accept it: UK, Canada, Israel, Mexico, Singapore. So kind of expanding on that side of things. And so lots of regulatory work. Our regulatory team will be very happy about that. So there's a lot in the future, which is really exciting, because listen, we want to get this technology out to as many people as possible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't come without challenges.
No.
And Richard, we know
Oh
all
yeah, so I'm
about
kind of
it.
interested. Like, you've covered the FDA hurdle. Again, for a lot of people, when you're a startup, that's all you see in front of you, so the FDA approval. But you're past that now. So what's that next challenge on the horizon for you?
So the next one is to really start going into different health areas. And so we want to make sure that we have the clinical efficacy to be able to really prove to the physicians why this is important. FDA clearance is one thing, getting physician adoption is another. And so we're going after some of those studies, not necessarily clinical studies, but just general studies to get that efficacy data and to show it in different areas and modalities. So that's the challenge. Obviously, commercialization is actually always the hardest part. Regulatory is one part of it. Getting commercial is a whole nother. And that's one of the reasons we've partnered with some of these larger companies to help us do that. And that's why it's taken, 2 years from our clearance to actually get there. And so those are the challenges that are the future, which they're all doable and all exciting, and really developing the products that the patients want. And the patients, for us, it's not actually the patients. Our customers are the physicians. Eventually, they will be the actual patients, but right now it's the hospitals and the physicians who are our customers.
And so in terms of those challenges, are you looking overseas? What's the horizon for developing this into international territories?
Yeah, so we're keeping all development internal, and then we're going to be scaling commercially external. So that's where our regulatory teams and sales and marketing teams start picking up with our partners. And so we're signing, and we've signed license agreements with them so that they handle all of that for us to grow and to scale.
Amazing. Well, Kyle, it sounds like they're hitting like a bunch of milestones already, and the ones lined up are already falling well into place. And I'm surprised, Marissa, you almost downplayed your own role in this, because you were clearly providing some great advice early on. The fact that they got the FDA approval, and you're now hitting home runs going forward. But yeah, Kyle, lots of exciting things coming up.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking about how fast DeepLook has moved with their technology and how much progress you've made over, just a few years. So what does that, I guess, 6 to 18 months look like? What are you thinking for major milestones? What are you striving towards? I know you just mentioned the general studies improving efficacy, but what else can the market and the world expect to see from DeepLook Medical?
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be obviously having, greater expansion into other health areas, which is exciting news for us. We will be going after our secondary product, which is the 510(k) for decision support. We will be going after, of course, tertiary products, which is bringing in the precision medicine and the AI and the machine learning as well. We will be expanding, regulatorily, which means sales outside of the US. And then in the 16 to 18 month horizon, we're looking forward to an acquisition, actually, where we are anticipating that we would be acquired by potentially one of our customers and/or somebody else on the market. This is a great tuck-in technology, and that's really, I think it's weird, I think, for people to hear that, to be like, what? They're creating a technology to be purchased. There's some companies that are made to grow and continue to expand. And then there's some companies that are made to be acquired and to leverage these larger companies and their infrastructure. We're the one that was made to be acquired. And this is a great technology to put into the portfolio of a larger company to continue to grow and scale it out to everybody.
Yeah, I think those are really great points. And I know from working with a number of medical device manufacturers throughout the world that, having, a technology or having something that's innovative that allows them and gives them a competitive edge over other players in the market is always something that these OEMs are looking for. So it's really neat, and I would totally, it makes a ton of sense. If I am an OEM producing display imaging technology, how am I going to be better? How am I going to bring the best product to market that's, going to give me a competitive advantage over my competition? I would most likely think about acquiring DL Precise and and aligning that technology with the product. So it makes a ton of sense. And I'm sure it takes a team
It
too.
does.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And we're very lucky. We have one of the founders who stayed on with us. I've brought in some really great executives from the GE team to join us. Our chief medical officer as well, who's Harvard, MIT, has also worked in businesses, which is exciting. And so we're working to surround ourselves. We also listen, given our pathway, it's really hard to employ people full time. So we use a lot of consultants to help us grow. And I think that that's a more scalable and also cost effective way as a small startup company that's continuously raising money, for us to mitigate our cash as well and to get the jobs done. I am a consultant. Like I came from that. I started a consulting firm 9 years ago. So like I believe in the business, and I think it's a best utilization of resources. So we're bringing in the best to support us. Our board is incredibly supportive. Our advisors are incredible, and we leverage them really, as much as we can, because it's great to put your name, to tie on to a company. But if you're one of our advisors, like we want your advice. Like that's why we have you here. And we do ask that you do help us. And so that's kind of some of the ways we've kind of assembled some incredible team members around us.
Well, it sounds like the perfect modern startup, agile, lean, you've got a really strong core team, but you're able to adapt and partner with the right people. Have you found that within your network? Have you been looking outside your network to find the people you want?
Yeah, both. So inside my network and outside, asking others, going to people that I've known for years and have never really, I've had a relationship with them and then never called on them for 8 years. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, great. Like I need a regulatory consultant. Now I'm going to call you. And it's one of those things, like that's the power of the network. That's the power of, always having these connections. You never know when they're going to be necessary. And listen, like, as a CEO of the company, it's my responsibility also to raise us capital. These are people that I've known for years. I've never called on them. I've actually worked with them on the other side of the transactions. So it's utilizing everybody and also asking for help. I think really good leaders need to ask for help and ask their network, ask the people that are in the network, ask their advisors, ask the board, ask the team members for the help, because it should never be a one-person show, and it needs to be, everybody has to work together to get to the ultimate goal.
Yeah, and that's such a great point you make around investors, and we speak a lot about choosing the right investors, and actually a huge value add can be when you pick the right investors who can be your advisors, who can come in and grow that network and provide the right connections. And so, how have you found that experience with the people behind DeepLook Medical?
Yeah, we're very lucky with our investors, and we have some great ones. We're based in Connecticut, so we have a great core in Connecticut that have been really supportive of us as well. So we're grateful for that, and it's a great ecosystem there. But I also have to say, like as a woman CEO, it's actually not the easiest. And I think that really needs to start changing. And I speak about that a lot. There's a lot of us speaking about it. It's slowly starting to change, but it's not changing fast enough. And the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of women CEOs. There's a lot of women's health companies. There's a lot of healthcare companies that focus on women. There's not enough money coming to us. And that needs to change quite dramatically. And it's something that we've been seeing quite extensively. And as a woman CEO, I get questioned more than a man does. And it's not an emotional thing that I'm saying this. There is hard facts to back that up. And that needs to change. And I think everyone needs to be cognizant that that is a problem and that it does need to change, and they need to be part of the solution.
Yeah, very well said. I think actively taking decisions about being positive towards helping people is so important in this stage. And Kyle, it sounds like Marissa's been in the industry for a while, but has some great advice to share for entrepreneurs and founders across the board.
Yeah, and I mean, already she was sharing some great advice. I think asking for help, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people is very important. But I guess what else would you say, Marissa? I mean, in especially to, other female entrepreneurs out there that might be experiencing what you've experienced and what you're seeing today, what kind of advice, I guess, do you have for them?
Yeah, I think listen, there's a big network of us and it continues to grow day by day. And that's the really exciting part. Like find us, talk to us. And also it's not just women, like we have to bring in the men, the allies to join us. I don't believe in only women teams. I don't believe in only men teams. I believe, when we talk about equity and equality, it's that it's 50-50, it's equal, it's joined, and it's not one over the other. But it's absolutely been proven that when you have women in executive management positions, the companies perform better. So I mean, to me, it's just intelligent. So what advice is? Seek out the allies, seek out the women's network, seek out the men network, seek everybody out who can help you, and focus almost less on the problem, more on the solution. One of the things that I've found is you have to focus, if you're speaking to all men, you have to speak like men, what they're going to understand. If I'm speaking to all women, it's sometimes a different discussion, and it's not one's better, one's worse. It's just a different discussion. Women care about the problem, men care about the solution. So when you're speaking to a mixed audience, speak to both. And I think those are the things that are important. And honestly, I've been finding it myself. And I'm certainly not perfect at it, because I actually like to talk about the problem, because it's a big problem. Cancer is a big problem. Visualization of soft tumor masses is a problem. There aren't enough solutions. Radiologists being exhausted, the problem. They need solutions. Like that's what needs to be spoken about.
That's all very legit right there, Marissa. There's no doubt. But I don't think there could be anyone better leading DeepLook Medical, right, than you, especially, and a woman leader who understands and really can empathize and know the challenges of your anatomy and what it takes to provide better outcomes. I think those are all really valuable to the audience. So thank you for that.
I know you've already touched on some of the things looking ahead in terms of being acquired and companies outlook over long-term horizon. What about personally? Like, what would you like to do? Because I think you've got this great experience. You're obviously passionate about medtech. What's the long-term career path for Marissa after this?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, selling this company. So yes, that's on the horizon. I'll go back, and I haven't stopped it actually, into venture and into investing in women's health. I always have continued it. I will continue it. So that's very much where I will be, and making sure that equity and equality is continued to be spread. I also run a global nonprofit focused on women's health in developing countries. These types of technologies need to be accessible for everybody, not just in the US and in Europe. And so we need to make sure that these incredible technologies get spread around the world. And so those are the things that I'll continue until, I don't know, until the bus runs me over in Manhattan. That's that's when it'll stop.
Well, we're hoping that doesn't happen, of
Yeah,
course.
we're
But
hoping
I
not.
mean,
Yeah.
that is a great mission, and I'm sure we can all buy into that in terms of taking technologies to all parts of the world and making them truly accessible.
Yeah, that's the important part. And we have to understand that we live in this small microcosm of where we are and what we're doing and in this med tech space. But there's an entire, I think everyone knows this, there's a whole world out there. And unfortunately, women don't have access to healthcare. And as we're getting smaller technologies and as we're getting more digitalized, it's exciting that there's access and potential access to everybody else. And so, and that's what also at DeepLook we're working to do. We want to make sure that our technology is accessible for everybody. And that's important. And important, I think, for every company needs to put that kind of in their mindset as well, because then it's, profits are important, of course, but it's profits and an impact, which is obviously, what you guys talk about so much. Like it's an impact to the world. It's an impact to people everywhere. And that's the exciting part.
Yeah, well, it definitely makes a lot of sense with your whole business model and your mission and how you're trying to enable folks to have access to your technology, especially through strategic partnerships and hopefully, an exciting new acquisition at some point. So Marissa, how do folks listening today and, reach out to you, get in touch with you, whether it's for business, or anything, you know, how do they get in touch with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Marissa Fayer. That one's pretty obvious. Also at DeepLook. So it's marissa.fayer, Fayer, at deeplookmedical.com. And I'm reachable and accessible there, LinkedIn, everywhere on my website, on our website. So deeplookmedical.com. Yeah, I'm almost tied to my phone, which is horrible. And I wish I wasn't as much, but I'm reachable.
Oh, perfect. Like us all.
Exactly.
That's
You know,
fantastic.
really have to be sure to take some mental health breaks from it, though. That's important.
Yeah, brilliant, Marissa. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I know you've got so many exciting things coming up that when we're releasing this episode, I'm sure there could be some exciting news coming out. But just thank you again for joining us today. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, another huge thank you to Marissa Fayer, CEO of DeepLook Medical. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Medtech Impact Podcast. I'm Kyle Cruz.
And I'm Richard Meiklejohn. Until next time, keep innovating.